I featured a lot of unknown topics in the previous part of the Plane Crazy Iceberg. I soon learned I only featured half of it. There is so much more I completely overlooked. In part 2 of the Plane Crazy Iceberg, how Operation Q saw several mods of the PCC be terminated, how the artificial sea was traversed, and the bizarre environment of the null zone. And that is just a fraction of the entire iceberg. Be ready to dive deep into the abyss. Enjoy! Non-legacy glass has a very interesting bug. When looking through non-legacy glass, the water behind it will become invisible. This is caused by the material itself. Due to this, the Plane Crazy developers are unable to fix this visual bug. There is a bug that grants you an infinite amount of blocks. However, this does not grant you infinite blocks. It is merely a UI bug. A fixed limit still remains. Pastebin.com is used by PCC mods to compile evidence against a user who is violating the server's rules. When enough evidence is compiled, PCC staff will decide your fate and vote on whether a ban is necessary. There are whole pastebins going around that are filled to the brim with drama. You may have stumbled upon this bug before. Since 2018, it is possible to join a friend in a PvP server in one click of a button. However, that got you stuck on a loading screen that took forever. For a long time, the join friend option didn't work. Almost a year later, it got finally fixed. Rockets are infamous for bugging out. Rockets would disappear after firing, not reload, or even fire backwards. TNT is accidentally and ironically the best armor block in the game. In Plane Crazy, TNT is virtually indestructible to any weapon, making it perfect for armored vehicles. A while back, there was a glitch that gave you a view of 360 degrees. You could get this glitch by spawning your build, pressing C to switch to camera view, and hopping out of your pilot seat. This glitch was useful for drones and other small vehicles. Later, it was fixed and made a recent return as a fully working option. Some players found ways to weaponize lag and wreak havoc. Various types of lag machines have been made, including the rope storm. Rope storms exploit the instability of ropes and suspension to destroy the frame rate of whole servers. Other designs of lag machines mostly include a chaotic order of blocks moving all at once. A ghost block is an invisible block with an intact hitbox. Ghost blocks occupy spaces in which the player is unable to place any block, which is happening here. This player wants to place the wedge against the side of his build, but is unable to due to the ghost block. Stop the tape. Post-editing lucked here. Now that I review this, I remember something else. I now remember that a long time ago, when outlines were still around, wedges had bugged hitboxes. While a 2x1 wedge was 2 blocks in length, the hitbox was sometimes 3 blocks in length. The hitbox was sometimes bigger than the wedge itself, and it seemed to have only happened with wedges. This seems to be the case here. The player tries to place the block against a wedge. However, the enlarged hitbox prevents him from doing so. It may not actually be a ghost block, but just the hitbox of a wedge bugging out. I hope that clears things up. You can fix this glitch by yourself by moving the entire creation. Parachutes have always been weird. They have always been known for being unstable and causing a lot of problems. Sometimes, Roblox is shit at filtering. At times, it censors completely normal words. Bypassing this filter is somewhat possible. To bypass the filter, type a word that's usually censored, but add a letter extra until it is no longer censored. Increase the text size until the final letters fall off, and you'll have the word that you wanted uncensored. The blacklist barrier is supposed to be the impenetrable wall that no blacklisted player can enter. However, it has been proven that this does not always happen. There are various ways to breach the barrier, the first one being motorlocking your way through it. The second way is building up an immense speed and then crashing into it. A third way is by using the speedrun game pass if it hasn't been fixed. Jetpacks are found to be unstable as well from time to time. Jetpacks have been able to fling you to the null zone. Jetpacks can also launch you at immense speeds. They can fling you so far away with so much speed that even the player bugs out. In 2022, a new way of building mechs was found through a glitch. Whole blocks could be made invisible. While it doesn't work for the client, the motors and blocks are invisible for others. Damn has a neat tutorial on this. Check the link in the description to make this yourself.
After this video is over.
A persistent bug that developers have never been able to solve are the freeze frames in PvP. Almost ever since PvP has been a thing, players have been reporting freeze frames in the middle of action. The blame speeds to be on Roblox for the state of their servers. Whatever the problem is, freeze frames still occur. Do you remember the time before motorlock was a thing? Before motorlock became the norm, players resorted to building vehicles at a much bigger scale. Builds were out of proportions. Cessnas were suddenly 2 times bigger than jumbo jets. The bigger the builds were, the more details and shape they could have. After motorlock and RO scale became a thing, oversized builds became way less common. Back then, it was a much simpler time. In 2022, Roblox games including Plane Crazy experienced a bizarre bug. Amidst the COVID pandemic, chats became separated with big spaces. Speech bubbles glitched as well. This bug persisted for more than a month and Roblox did not seem to bother fixing it. Due to Roblox's inaction, Rikia had to fix the chat bugs himself and had it solved a month later. It's August 2024, it is possible to gift friends game passes. However, unfortunately for some, this feature is prone to bugs. Users have reported to have not received their gifts. I guess the Grinch is on the loose again. Infinite torque and fix were old options from 2018 that adjusted the behavior of motors. When infinite torque is applied, it fully maximizes a motor's torque. It's essentially the ultimate maximum of maximum torque. Infinite torque was also called max torque. Fix was an option that fixed the motor and adjusted its behavior. Not much later after both options were added, they were removed from the game. The mountain near the airport has a hidden, dark cavern. It is possible to find this place by motorlocking your way into it. There it is. The cavern is mostly a barren, empty place, possibly an oversight while making this mountain in Roblox Studios. Spawning your build too fast can cause loading issues. Whenever the game struggles to load in your builds, it gives you a warning that you are spawning too fast. This is more of a limiter that stops players from spawning too frequently. This warning can also be triggered when experiencing extreme lag. There are two special roles in the PCC that only a very few people have. They were roles that could only be obtained a very long time ago during the Cranberry and Raisin event. The Raisin event specifically was triggered by a single comment made by the mod VoxelBox in 2019. Only 5 of the players above remain in the PCC. Players that attended the later Cranberry event, which were not many, were given the special Cranberry role in the PCC. We've had fuel before. In the pre-alpha age of Plane Crazy, fuel had already been added to the game. Fuel was later removed in 2017, but then re-added to Plane Crazy Alpha in 2019. While fuel was pretty new to newbies like me in 2019, it was actually a long-lost artifact of ancient Plane Crazy. This is a feature of the map that's quite easily missed. Across the map, there are 2 pipelines. One is located here, near the mountainous shoreline. The other one is here, near the moon biome of the map. While their locations differ, they seem to have one thing in common. Both pipelines start at the ocean and seem to lead to places of lava. One line leads to this lava lake, the other to the bunker where, during the summer events, is surrounded by lava. The question is why? What does this underground laboratory need water for? Perhaps for the development of the water jet? If you have any ideas, please share them in the comments. Perhaps we unravel the mystery. For a very long time, there has been a bug that assigns 2 players to one plot. This glitch seems to be caused when the game is lagging since it happens very randomly. When this bug was first reported in 2020, it was believed that once the game was soft-coded, bugs like these would be fixed. However, this did not happen with this bug. It still happens very rarely and randomly. This is the closest players have been to a whitelist, a feature that will likely be never added to Plane Crazy. The Death Cube is the forefather of the monsters we now call shredder bugs. Death Cubes have been a thing since at least 2018 and are highly dangerous machines. A single touch is enough to decimate your entire vehicle. Though these were highly efficient murder machines, shredder bugs gained popularity as they were simpler to build. The Null Zone is a wide region surrounding the map that defies the game. The Null Zone is far away from the map. From the center, it is 1 million studs away, or 280 kilometers. Being so far away from the center makes it a highly volatile place. Many bugs and glitches occur here. Some of the glitches that happen here are vibrating blocks and rockets unable to spawn. Going a little further and your player will alternate between 2 dimensions. Builds that are anchored in lava are unaffected. No damage is done. PCRGs and PCMGs are community groups with players role-playing or battling wars with one another. PCRGs are role-playing communities and tend to be the minority and operate quietly under the radar. PCMGs, on the other hand, are military groups and are very active. Rivaling military groups commonly fight against each other in PvP. Some very big PCMGs are Armada, Steel Ravens, the GASF, and the UNCF. Fun fact, I was part of such a military group too, the Red Eye Fleet. Somewhere in 2019, me, a fellow Dutchie, and a Belgian created TREF and sought to expand our military power. At last, our military group fell due to disagreements, but those days were still the golden days. Anyway, perhaps that's a story for another time. The GNC and its successor, the UNPC, were the go-to hubs for PCMGs. The global nations community organized seasonal tournaments where factions waged war, formed coalitions, and fought for sovereignty in Plane Crazy. These factions held leadership over hexagons of virtual land on the world map and could wage war to expand. These wars were fought out in PvP with rules to make fights fair, such as a speed limit of 200 SPS on aircraft. The land that factions owned provided them a weekly income, which they needed to buy slots to build aircraft or tanks. You could also buy quarries and level them up to make more profit and expand your military. These days, the GNC is no longer active because it was understaffed and had a toxic community. Some users whose feelings were hurt and declared war never showed up to the actual fights, fearing the consequences of losing land. After the GMC got wiped, the United Nations of Plane Crazy was founded. The UNPC works roughly the same way, but with a more rudimentary and slower method. The GMC saw, before its deletion, 3 seasons of war and diplomacy. Currently, the UNPC is in its first season. The time before Alpha was crazy. The map looked bizarre. The build plots were underground in a glass bunker and your vehicle would spawn outside. There was no ocean. There were only puddles of water, too small for ships or submarines. And as you can see, fuel was a thing indeed. What was very special to see were full servers. They were never full since Plane Crazy pre-alpha was not very popular. In 2017, the entire map was reworked into the basic form of the map today. When Rikya joined, he added the desert and the railway. If you are from the pre-alpha era, feel free to share your experience in the comments. There was a moment in history when the option GUI of motors was reversed. As you can see, all the options and slides were reversed. In the Plane Crazy community there are some channels that will never see daylight. These are most of the removed channels I could find. KSP was a channel to talk about Kerbal Space Program. I have no idea what the fuck NSFW did. And Rikya was a special channel where all the pings to Rikya went. In the times of 2019, the developers were notorious for having trust issues. When the game demanded the most from them, Rikya and Mad did not ask other developers to help out. This was quite detrimental to the state of updates at the time. Rikya did not even trust his own moderator team. The trust seems to have rebuilt, however, although I am unable to look behind the scenes. When selecting a material, the name of the blocks changed to that material. Build a Plane Challenge is a game from 2010 that is the direct predecessor to Plane Crazy. In BPC, your goal was to build a plane and complete all the challenges. Plane Crazy is actually a remake of this game. This game is still playable today. However, due to Roblox updates, most of it is no longer working. The PCC Times is a newspaper based in the Plane Crazy community. It followed spectacular events happening in the PCC in 2022. It is mostly a meme, if it wasn't clear already. In November 2020, carnage happened. At this time, Roblox pushed out an update that fixed several bugs, with one of them being motor lock. This caused many motor locked builds to break. For roughly a week, all players cried out in agony as all of their motor locked builds broke. After a week, Rikia finally reversed the damage by turning motor lock from a bug into a feature. But that wasn't all. A month later, Motor 2 broke down as well. Sadly, not much is known. It may very well be that Roblox went for the ankles of Motor 2 as well. Something like this happened more recently as well in March of 2023. Whatever the cause was back in 2021, Plane Crazy had 2 rough months. While most communities of games themselves start out officially, the Plane Crazy community did not. The PCC wasn't founded by Mad or Rikia, but by Voxelbox, at the time a player of Plane Crazy. Later, both developers were welcomed by the community, and the PCC was made official. There have been many no-clip glitches, such as the blacklist barrier. Another such glitch happened with blocks themselves. I could not find much, however. Most if not all information had long been buried. This image, delivered by Weaponry, depicts a block no-clipping through another. What is very clear is that this is one of the many no-clip glitches. The Holy Motor Bible is a 1460-word document. The oldest reference to the Holy Motor Bible goes back to 2019, the year it was probably written by the mod Idra. It talks about God striking a deal with Plane Crazy's first admins, the Spirit, and the biblical proportions of the motor. It even talks about Fonkel's beard. You can take a look at the Holy Motor Bible yourself. You can find the link in the descriptions. What many consider the first tutorial of a Plane Crazy build is one posted by Abu Abed, at the time Ready Station. It was posted in 2017 when the old map was still around, and featured a VTOL aircraft. As you can see, there were not many blocks to choose from. It is quite a time capsule. If you want to watch it yourself, you can find the link in the descriptions. During the 2024 April Fool's event, Plane Crazy saw a revolutionary update, the addition of the poo block. For a single day, the PCC's creations got flooded with poo blocks with no end. Players added poo blocks to quite literally everything they had. We were lucky that it only lasted a day. One army of shredder bugs is Hellspawn. What's worse, 2? Well, yes. Plane Crazy is doomed. In the first April Fool's event in 2019, the Nitro Super Rocket was added to the game. It was an upgraded version of the rocket engine and gave 500 speed. The Nitro Super Rocket was later renamed to Super Rocket, and has been in the game ever since. On the borders of the moon biome and the desert, an accidental structure was created. A small structure in the shape of a hand was formed here. In 2019, there was an Easter egg hidden in the laboratory. Before 2019, the door on the left was inaccessible. It hinted at a possible expansion. Curious players became interested in what was behind it. What they found was shocking. They got gnomed. This was a reference to the "you got gnomed" meme that MEE6 frequently posted in the PCC. Shocking indeed. I knew about this when making the Iceberg Part 1, but it was so out of place that I thought I got gnomed. Well, it turns out the gnome was real after all. In the alpha years of 2019 and 2020, when a player left, his build remained in the server. When a player left, the bug would cause his creation to remain on his now vacant plot. A newly joined player would sometimes spawn on this plot with the creation of the previous player. When this bug was fixed is not known. This information has vanished in a catch-all term of bug fixes in the changelog. But I think it might be safe to assume that this was fixed in 2020 or 2021. This bug has never been seen before ever since. The weeb hour refers to moments in the PCC when specific mods were online. These mods were Deciduous, Mach Mish, Legendary Win, Mach Tua, Battleship, and Lil Under. At least one of them had to be online. Besides, the weeb hour could only be initiated when some other mods were not online. When the criteria was met, the weeb hour was initiated, usually followed by posts of anime. Mods that required to be offline for the weeb hour were Fonkel and basically any other mod. This trend started in 2019. These days, weeb hours are very rare. Perhaps it is for the best. Whatever Floats Your Boat is a game where you have to build anything that floats and survive the flood and rivaling parties. I remember playing this a lot back in the day. However, the game saw a massive decline in popularity in 2018. Updates were widely hated by the community. Handguns and cannon noobs made gameplay worse, and hackers made everything go downhill. This caused a massive migration of players from Whatever Floats Your Boat to Plane Crazy. The PCC suddenly saw a huge influx of new players, with the most coming from this game. Speaking about hackers, near the lava test lake, there is a smiley imprinted in the soil. This smiley may have been there ever since the lava test lake has been added. During the winter event, the smiley is even more visible. On June 10, 2021, the general chat in the PCC got spammed with EAS as a harmless joke. It started with a simple EAS, but this quickly escalated into spamming the chat with the full description of the EAS. For those who don't know, the Emergency Alert System is the national warning system of the United States, installed in 1997. In times of disaster, the EAS would inform the public through radio and TV broadcasts about the situation. This lasted just 11 minutes. After its conception, materials were prone to bugging out so much that it could result in massive flings. There was a chance that, when applying a material to a wing panel, the vehicle would fling and bug out. It was theorized that this could be caused by conflicting data. When a material is applied to a wing panel, the server database and the main database would be updated and know of this new action. However, this was sometimes not the case. The server database would know you had applied a material to a wing panel, but the main database would not. The resulting conflict would cause the player's build to bug out and fling, as the game is unable to properly calculate the lift the wing panels would have to produce. Before he became Plane Crazy's main developer, Rikyu was just a player enjoying the game. He voluntarily made conceptual blocks for Plane Crazy, such as ropes and magnets. Soon enough, Mad asked him to help out and Rikyu became co-developer. Since March of 2017, Rikyu is Plane Crazy's main developer. Water jets were first added to the game during the summer event of 2020. They were stored in the underground laboratory. However, with this new block also came new risks, and as such, the water jet experienced a rare bug. After its addition, bug reports came in, describing massive flings the water jet would cause. Ragdolled players would be launched at speeds of up to 15,000 SPS. When this bug was fixed is not known. It seems like this too got buried in the PCC's history. You know the drill. You are just playing around and then you are suddenly warped into one of the update servers. I've explained this before in part 1, but to recap, when Plane Crazy gets updated, all players are forced to join the update servers. While all players are here, all Plane Crazy servers get updated with new features or blocks. After roughly 10 seconds, all players are teleported back into the Plane Crazy servers with new features. However, there have been instances where players were forced to join the update servers again. Even if the update had already been done, the servers themselves kept updating over and over again. These instances are known as update loop incidents, and have mostly been caused by bugs in Roblox's or Rikia's updating scripts. These infinite loops have happened more often than you might think, and have been quite an annoyance. And because the game relies on Roblox's updating systems, the last update loop probably won't be the last one. Plane Crazy Maps is a project to map Plane Crazy with 360-degree cameras. It is a project that has been ongoing since September of 2022, and as of December 2024, has mapped out the bases and the dirt road. It has its own website where you can find Plane Crazy Street View and a top view of the map. For now, only one version of Street View has been released. More are yet to come. However, making panorama images within Roblox required changing the FOV settings, which Roblox removed not long ago. Because of this, development stalled and a script had to be made to change the field of view. The most recent attempts at recreating panorama images before Roblox's FOV setting was removed have not been successful. Despite the difficulties, Plane Crazy Maps is still very much alive. Since the start, Plane Crazy relied on a hard-coded plane physics script written by Mad. Since October 2023, this is no longer the case. In October, Plane Crazy became the first ever Roblox game to switch to Roblox Aerodynamics. Roblox Aerodynamics is a far more superior system and is more realistic than Mad's plane physics script. All wing panels automatically work with Roblox Aerodynamics, and can also be manually applied to blocks. In your material painter, Aerodynamics enables blocks to create lift as well. This is a huge step for Plane Crazy. No longer does it run on hardwired code, but on a simple, Roblox program. While there has been an official Plane Crazy wiki for a while on fandom.com, there is also a new, second wiki. This wiki runs on Mirahis and is managed by the players. The Mirahis PC wiki is notably smaller, featuring only 50 pages against 195 pages on the official wiki. The homepage features a navigation tab and a featured builds tab. Oh, and there's also a YouTubers page. I'm wondering if I have a page here. Okay, so where am I? Wait a minute, I don't have a page? Over the years, various scripts have been developed for Plane Crazy by the players. The most well-known one is the copy script. This one allows the user to duplicate and steal the creations of others. Along with the COVID pandemic of 2020, so came the copy script pandemic as these became rampant in that year. Another script is the FreeCam script. This one allows the player to move the paw freely without the limits of Roblox. Shader scripts enhance the graphics of Roblox games to make them look better. And then there are color scripts that create pixel art of real-life images. Using scripts is at the player's risk. While some are allowed, most scripts are not allowed on Roblox and may result in a ban. There was a time that, when ping got too high, all motors of your build would reset. It is capable of decimating your vehicles since the reset would cause blocks to clip. What exactly happened with this bug is unknown. Most of the information has long been buried. In the alpha years of Plane Crazy, moving vehicles and ragdolling players was a recipe for disaster. Standing on a spawned-in vehicle alone was enough to potentially bug everything out. The example above is a relatively mild one, but standing on vehicles has been quite catastrophic. For example, ghost ragdolling is the name for a fling when the player ragdolls on an airplane. The resulting fling is major. The PCC is not alone. There are several servers that are closely related to the PCC. These sub-communities are the Plane Crazy Archive server, the Plane Crazy Anti-UNT Association, the Plane Crazy Community Intelligence Agency, and the unofficial Plane Crazy Giveaway server. In 2018, when you ragdoll and spawn in your vehicle at the same time, your avatar would bug. Your limbs would ragdoll, but you would still be able to move around. In June of 2022, bug reports flushed in about lava pools no longer inflicting damage. This was during the summer event where large lava pools had formed. In all of these, players and even builds were unharmed. Operation Q was a top-secret plan to demote several mods of the PCC for incompetence and outright corruption. In 2020, a few moderators of the PCC were suspicious of other mods. Some mods were no longer found to be worthy as moderators, and thus, Operation Q commenced. Two moderators in particular were Creative Force and Noctua. Creative Force stepped down in the wake of Op Q due to mental health issues. Scrolling through old Discord chats, I got the impression that Creative Force was not liked as a moderator by many. Then there is Noctua. Noctua was found to be unable to uphold guidelines and was guilty of corruption within the PCC. Noct broke Rule 6 of the PCC as he had an alt account in the server, Imperial Mistakes. Rule 6 states that no user is allowed to have an alt account in the PCC. Noct willfully broke this rule as a moderator. This was outright corruption, and due to this, Noct was removed from the moderation team and banned without hesitation. Alt accounts are not allowed in the PCC because it enables users to bypass punishment set by mods. In the wake of Op Q, more mods said their farewells, mostly because of mental health reasons or education. However, with the removal of the incompetent, so came much better mods to replace their empty seats. Thanks to Operation Q, moderation in the PCC became much tighter. Operation successful. Mission accomplished. The intelligence agency server was made in April of 2020, intended to solve several huge problems in the PCC. At the time, the huge Gamer Thailand copying scandal was combusting in the PCC, and an even more shocking case involving the cyber pilot incidents was going around. The cyber pilot incidents involved and the intelligence agency made an end to all of these problems and succeeded in making the PCC a much better place. These days, intelligence has become a PCMG. The network test is a separate, inaccessible test version of Plane Crazy. In this confined area, Rikyud tests out new game features in a safe environment before these are added to the main game. Below the map, directly under the moon biome, there is a hidden space. This is the Sea Dome, a hollow space underground that is filled with water. But don't go out of the water. In 2018, Rikyud posted a possible sneak peek of a new part of the map in PCC's Plane Crazy chat. The image shows a new location of all the build plots with behind them the new docks. The docks is where your ships would spawn, and each player would have their own. There is even a helipad. While this image served more as a poll whether people really wanted it, the docks were highly positively received. However, to this day, nothing similar to this has ever been added to the game. But if Riku does decide to add this one day, please make this more curvy. It's a freaking headache looking at this. When the Iceberg Part 1 came out, a viewer brought the 3-player 1-plot bug to my attention. It was a rumor and there was a chance this bug was not even real to begin with. It sparked my curiosity, and guess what? I found possible proof of perhaps the rarest bug in the game. As the comment describes, 3 players get assigned to a single, vacant plot simultaneously. While the 2 players 1 plot was rare to begin with, this one kicks it out of the park. I can't find info on what happened with this. It happens so rarely that it's negligible, or it vanished into the catch-all term bug fixes. Anyway, it's fascinating. Another thing to recap from Part 1 is the Motor 3. It was a supposed leak of a new type of motor. While it convinced many, it was actually fake. However, this motor was not made with Photoshop. Do you remember the no-clip glitch from before? Motor 3 was not Photoshop at all. It was created by utilizing the no-clip glitch on the right in early 2021. Motor 3 seems to be made by no-clipping 2 Motor 2s in build mode, so while it will never be added to the game, Motor 3 is actually somewhat real. This is a long-forgotten feature of the game. Many know 2020 as the year when outlines were removed by Roblox in May of that year. However, on that exact day, something else was removed too, something that was missed by many. Before May of 2020, rocket engines had a bloom or glow that surrounded the exhausts. This glow was removed on the same day as outlines, and because it was such a minor thing, it quickly fell into obscurity. The rocket engine bloom is a feature forgotten by many. For this topic, I wish you welcome to my ancient Bismarck. I built this before materials were added to Plane Crazy, which is a vital detail. Before Plane Crazy had materials, you had specific glass blocks. These were by default legacy glass. So instead of applying glass material to blocks, you had to actually place glass blocks. If you have a build that's from before the materials, you probably still have the original glass blocks. And if you do, you can still see the original GUI for glass blocks. This is something you cannot see or get anywhere else in the game. Only the old glass blocks have this GUI. For a few months in 2018, there stood one or possibly more Innovation Inc. signs in Plane Crazy Alpha. These stood behind the conveyor belts at the build plots, and referred to Mad's role in several Innovation Inc. games. Because these signs stood there for so little time and were practically useless, this old detail vanished into obscurity. So obscure even, that this is the only image of this sign we could find. Ironically, the Innovation Inc. sign is the oldest thing I remember from Plane Crazy. The ocean we now have has not always been on the map. Before there was an ocean in 2018, there was a swamp with puddles of water. These puddles were too small for ships or submarines. The swamp might be a remnant of the puddles we saw on the pre-alpha map. The swamp on the alpha map was replaced by the ocean in January of 2018 as Rikia flooded it with more water. From this point onward, boats and ships finally had a purpose in the game. Another obscure fact: 2 blocks were incorrectly spelled. For a brief moment, we had pyramids and propellers. It's pyramid and propeller of course, but this small error remained for some time in the game. This happened back in 2018, and various users brought it to Rikia's attention. I do not know how long this was in the game. The errors have possibly been there since the 2 blocks were added. And that's quite a while ago. Anyway, these errors were soon fixed in 2018. In 2020, the Plane Crazy map had a temporary, new seed. Prototrode discovered a vulnerability in the game. Servers do not check the limits of configuration settings. In other words, you were technically able to make a rope that was 1,000,000 blocks wide. Thus, Prototrode made a script and sent a really high thickness config. The server processed it and the rope created a large surface area. He painted the rope blue and created an artificial sea. Later, he would notify Rikia about this and the bug got fixed. In 2021, Rikia stated in the PCC that he hid an Easter egg somewhere on the map. People began the search and sometime later, something was found hidden in the laboratory. If you want to see for yourself, get to the lab and motorlock your way through this wall. Here it is. This Easter egg is made of several key components. Firstly, a huge part is this blue surface and a neon-like, red circle. This is believed to be an ocean with a lava fall. Then there are two other components. The yellow structure on the left is perhaps a desert. The object on the right is a metal plate with the number 2 on top. This is believed to be a direct reference to the upcoming PC2 update. While Plane Crazy 2 was announced as a sequel game, Rikia changed this into a huge update. This Easter egg may be referring to a large, new map coming up. When this update will be released is hard to say. For now, Rikia is releasing smaller updates to make the transition to PC2 a smoother experience. In 2023, there was a rare bug that caused certain blocks to become undeletable whatsoever. This may be caused by placing a block split second before your build loads in. This causes that block to occupy the same position as a block from the creation itself. Even when the entire build is deleted, the block itself remains. There is a way to defend your vehicle against rockets. A while ago, players found out that ladders are excellent at shielding your vehicle from rockets. Rockets seem to be confused when being in the proximity of ladders. Their wonky code seems to malfunction. However, despite the mysterious nature, ladders seem to be effective at holding off rockets. Thus, PvP players resort to shielding their ground vehicles with ladder cages. So are you fucked in the ass by rockets? Try ladder cages, and it might very well save you from those buggers. In 2020, it was possible for parachutes to grow nearly infinitely big. How this bug exactly happened is unknown. Prototrode may have recreated it with scripts. This is the size the parachute managed to reach. Sadly, there is very little information and the man himself does not remember much anymore about how he got to film this bug. In 2019, players found a mysterious NPC balancing on the edge between the void and the ocean. This NPC was named Dummy and seemed to have been unresponsive to any interaction, from the players or the environment. I could not find much except from what I could make out from these two images. It may have referred to some Easter egg that I have been unable to find so far. "7/28 is a day feared by many PCC veterans. Every year on this date, a group of new users join the PCC and begin flooding the server with horrendous stuff. This attack of horrendous spam first happened in 2023, and since then, seems to happen every year. I can't see what they posted anymore since the mods have removed all posts. I could only find the response of others. However, it is clear that it's horrible stuff. Why these new users join and target the PCC on this exact day remains a mystery. This is perhaps the most controversial topic in this iceberg. Let's begin at where it all started. Between 2017 and 2018, a major power shift occurred. MAD gave Rikya the keys to the development of Plane Crazy. Soon after Rikya got appointed to lead the development, he made a big mistake. He uncopylocked the game. This meant that the source code and all the files of Plane Crazy were accessible. In other words, anyone who knew where to look could possibly steal all the files of Plane Crazy. Everything. And a handful of people did just that. In the years that followed, these people built their own versions of Plane Crazy, possibly based on stolen files. And in recent times, Rikya is making an effort in stopping these Plane Crazy copies. In the previous months, Rikya has DMCA'd 3 games that are possibly built on stolen Plane Crazy assets. These games are Mechanica, Lethal Engineering, and Plane Engineers. If you still remember, Mechanica was earlier threatened with a lawsuit by Rikya. Plane Engineers has recently been taken down. Its developers state, "We're currently dealing with DMCA accusations." Lethal Engineering was previously called Build a Tank and Fight, or BATAF. When it was BATAF, it got DMCA'd because its developers possibly stole a script from Plane Crazy. This DMCA strike got some players of BATAF mad. They raided the PCC and struck contest chat very hard. As of making this video, Rikya's DMCA war against the now called Lethal Engineering is still ongoing. This is a very controversial and taboo topic, as many PCC moderators and even Rikya himself try to keep this quiet. While speaking about it is mostly fine, speaking negatively about these DMCAs can expect a swift response from the mods. Logic blocks have been asked for a long time. We know logic blocks are in development, but what is happening since its announcement is largely a mystery. In August 2024, Rikya posted a sneak peek of the upcoming 19 logic blocks, with the image showing one of them. However, for unknown reasons, the development of these logic blocks has stalled. The release date is currently not in sight. Logic blocks are a complex matter, but if I understand correctly, it involves sensors and computers. A sensor detects a certain value, creates input, a computer processes it, and an actuator turns it into output. Those sort of things. It's clear that a lot is possible with logic blocks. Things can be built that players could only dream of. Lancelot is an elite building group composed of the best builders of Plane Crazy. Lancelot started out as an enclosed community where only the best could take a seat. These days, it has become a public server. Lancelot knows 3 ranks: Knight, Master, and Grandmaster. To achieve any of these, you need 2 things: skill and reputation. How good you are at building decides your rank. Reputation decides whether you're going to be invited at all. And achieving that reputation is hard. The standards in Lancelot are much tougher than in the PCC. I met a player, a Knight of Lancelot, and the build that got him the rank is a monster. The amount of motor lock was crazy. This is a build that the average player is unable to build, which speaks for the level of skill needed to join Lancelot. While this is enough to get knighted into Lancelot, it takes even more to climb higher. This is what it takes to climb to Master or Grandmaster. In Lancelot, the pressure to deliver nearly perfect results is high. If consistency lacks, a person from any rank may get demoted. All in all, if you thought the PCC had high standards, forget ever participating in Lancelot. Lancelot consists of approximately 700 players with the unranked included. Only a very few occupy the role of Grandmaster. Do you want to be part of the elite? Good luck, because you are definitely going to need it. One particular block was the result of a bug in 2019. In 2019, Rikya pushed out an update that caused the hitboxes of cylinder 2x2s to bug out. Instead of their normal 2x2, hitboxes became 3x3 while the cylinder itself remained the same size. This was detrimental to some creations as a fundamental part had suddenly grown in proportion. The 3x3 hitbox removed surrounding blocks and the cylinders themselves got displaced. However, this bug wasn't only damaging. To some extent, it was welcomed as well. Users began to see that a centered 2x2 cylinder in a 3x3 hitbox had its advantages. And thus, in the update that followed, 2x2 cylinders were fixed and a new cylinder got added. the Cylinder 2 2x2. And that was how the Cylinder 2 2x2 was created, because of a bug. We've come to the end of this iceberg. We've seen how Operation Q got various mods to step down, how mismanagement at Whatever Floats Your Boat brought new players to Plane Crazy, and the raging DMCA war between Rikia and various Plane Crazy copies. If you want to download an updated Iceberg chart of Plane Crazy, check out the description.